right now. All right, we're switching up things a bit tonight, folks. College football season started tonight for all intents and purposes. So we're going to take a break from boxing on this channel and talk about some college football. I love the college football. And I have my good friend EJ, the college football encyclopedia, with me tonight to get hammered in this little debate we're going to have tonight on top five college football rivalries. Um, you know,
And you're
I
already wrong. You're already wrong. Football started last
you
weekend.
yeah, well, for all I said for all intent, the good game started tonight, but the rivalry is on the screen. We're going to get to that in a minute, but I don't know what your list is. You don't know what my list is. Uh, but I'll say this: if we don't disagree, I'm going to find a way to disagree with you, as I always do. If you say the sky is blue, I'm going to find a way for it not to be blue. That's how it works with our little rivalry here. But let's hear your number five. I want to hear your number five on this list.
Um, it's a no-brainer. It's Army Navy
At number five, though,
at number five.
so you have four games ahead of Army Navy.
Yes, because the only reason I have Army Navy as five is because it's a neutral site. I don't like rivalry games on neutral sites. If it was like at Army, at Navy, the atmosphere would probably be better. But I just don't like neutral site rivalry games.
Yeah, but the thing about it though is it's always packed. It's always packed. It's not. It's not. It's a game. It's not like the neutral site doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but it's also the last 25 years. Army won once, so it's not. Give me the atmosphere over the rivalry, and it'd probably make it a little bit more better atmosphere for me if I'm at Navy or at Army.
Yeah, but it's Army Navy. I mean, just the tradition behind it, just the optics, just the scene there is everything. The alma maters after the game. That makes it what it is. But I'm going to get to that in a minute. I want to give you my number five. Um, this is a game. We're from South Louisiana, so this one makes sense to us. LSU versus Arkansas. Now, I understand
Oh
LSU versus
man.
Alabama. Look. Wait a second. I understand LSU versus Alabama has become this big thing, even though Alabama has won how many in a row? Um, but to me, LSU Arkansas, the boot, that's the rivalry from the childhood. There's a lot of nostalgia behind it.
Hold on, hold
It's
on, hold on,
LSU
hold on,
versus Arkansas, and it
hold
was
on, hold
always
on. Time out,
Thanksgiving
time out,
weekend. It
time
was
out,
just a
time out.
great rivalry. Go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
let's throw the flag on there. I said from your childhood. This rivalry started in 1992 when Arkansas came in the SEC. It's
Well,
haven't
guess
been
what?
that
That's my
long.
childhood.
It was a made. It's a made rivalry by the SEC. It's not a rivalry.
Are you kidding me? Are you
LSU
kidding me? It's not.
LSU Ole
And by the way,
Miss
that's 25.
LSU Ole Miss
EJ, that's 25 years
L
ago. That's 25
yeah,
years ago.
it's such
That's
a
a quarter of a
rivalry that
century.
they took it away from Thanksgiving weekend and actually gave it to a real rival of LSU's in Texas A&M.
No, which is a rivalry. But EJ, listen, they're messing up tradition all over college football right now. I mean, Notre Dame
Oh,
doesn't
I agree.
play Michigan anymore. Nebraska and Oklahoma, I don't think they play every year anymore. So I mean, it's messed up everywhere. So what? But I'm saying they still play every year. They're natural rivals. I mean, it's a border war. It's there, and it's a good. It seems to be a good game every year, even when Arkansas is down. They still have a way of hanging with LSU. So that's my top. This is my
Or
top five. All right, and that's number five. That's a clear number five.
okay.
Now, what's your number four?
My number four is you gotta go to the Northwest and go to the Civil War, Oregon State. It's a game
Yeah,
that's East Coast
I could
bias.
I could see that. No, I can see
Oh,
that. I can see that. I
it,
can see it.
it's good old fashioned rivalry in the Northwest. Oregon State. You got the bright orange and black, and whatever color Oregon's wearing, and it's always a good game. The atmosphere in Autzen is amazing. Riser Stadium in I think it's Riser Stadium. I don't know. They keep renaming stadiums now, but Oregon State's in Cornwallis is a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's campus to campus, great atmosphere. Uh, it's a and and let me be honest, these are the five. I don't say it's like my five top greatest rivalries. These are the five rivalries I would want to go see because some of the rivalries that you probably want to see that you saying I probably already saw them, experienced them. So it's just my top five that I want to see
Right.
before I die.
Right. It's subjective because if we were talking about top five college football rivalries, obviously I wouldn't have LSU Arkansas. This is one of LSU Arkansas is one of my favorites. That's why I put it top five. I just love that game. Um, but I love Oregon State's atmosphere as well. It really comes through the TV. So I like that rivalry as well. It's not my top five, but I like that one as well. My number four would be the world's biggest tailgate, Florida versus Georgia. And who could forget? I think that was Georgia who scored the touchdown and ran on the field, or was that Florida? I think that was Georgia, wearing all black and running on the field after they scored a touchdown. The whole team. Just a great rivalry. There's a lot of bad blood there, and two very good SEC programs. So I like that one, Florida versus Georgia, and it always seems to have some implications in the SEC East. So I have Florida versus Georgia at number four. Any objections there?
Two things, and it's not bad. It's a great game. I've been to one. Um, it's once again it's at a neutral site, but it is 50-50 Georgia. It's kind of like Texas Oklahoma.
So you don't have a
It's
problem with that neutral site or Texas?
I kind of do. I hate Jacksonville. If you ever been to Jacksonville for a football game, it's terrible.
Of course, you would hate it.
No. It's dreadful. Try going to a Super Bowl there, and everything's just so spread apart.
What about the state fair, Texas, Oklahoma? What's the atmosphere like there?
Oh, that's just it's bitter rivalry. It's a neutral site. I don't like the neutral sites. I'd rather have it at Texas and Oklahoma. But
Is
it's
Texas, Oklahoma
50-50.
your top five?
No, because I've been to like 6 or 7 of them, so I experienced it so many times.
What's your number
But
three?
another problem, another no, before let's get back to this Florida Georgia because I have
Okay.
another problem. They renamed the rivalry. To me, always it's going to be the world's largest cocktail party.
Right. But they call it the world's biggest tailgate party now, right?
Yeah, because it got to be PC and try it be a
Well,
lot of BS.
well, look, tailgate holds a lot more weight than cocktail on in the South. That I could tell you.
Well, it's two bougie ass fan bases that likes to stub up their noses to the rest of everybody. So cocktail party kind of makes sense.
All right. All right. Still bad blood with Florida,
I hate
huh?
Florida. I hate
All right.
Georgia too.
So who's your number three?
My number three, surprisingly, is staying out west. The Holy War, Utah versus BYU.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
The
And we got BYU, and we got BYU here in New Orleans this Saturday. Which, by the way,
uh,
Decadence Fest and the Mormons down here. That's not a good mix, but it is what it is. It is what it is with that. We'll see if BYU can hang with LSU this weekend. But that's a good rivalry there.
just the stadiums, the game itself, but put the mountains in the background on both stadiums, and it would, there'll be a lot of religious things going on in the stands, but
I
that's
like what you're doing. You got the games that fly under the radar. I like what you're doing here.
yeah. You just got to go to some of the games that people don't think about.
Okay, well, I'm gonna give you my number three, and this isn't obvious. Some people would have it higher. You may have it higher. Bama versus Auburn. Bama versus Auburn. To me, that's become has it become the premier rivalry in college football? Would you say? I mean, Michigan, Ohio State still burning hot, especially with Meyer and Harbaugh. That rivalry going on right now, and I'll get to that in a minute, obviously. But um, the my favorite game, one of my favorite games of all time, was the game I actually missed because it was on my wedding night. But when Auburn returned that missed field goal, 109 yards for a touchdown. But this is another game that always seems to have a lot on the line and just a bit of rivalry. Two teams from the same state, right there. Um, what do you think about that one? Any objections?
Uh, no, no. I think you have it too low.
Too low.
Too
Okay,
low.
so give me your number. Give me your number two.
We're going to keep it out west, and we're going to go to Everett, Washington, and Pullman, Washington. The Apple Cup, Washington, Washington State.
Another one under the radar. Not really under the radar, but you know what I mean.
It's under the radar. It's very underrated. Um, but if my dream is to always go to Husky Stadium and catch the game, catch it off the sound. It's a great stadium atmosphere wise, tailgating. UW is probably one of the top football tailgating schools, and then Pullman. Pullman, I've heard so much great things about Pullman. It's the middle of nowhere, more closer to Boise than it is to Seattle, but it's just Washington State, Washington. I think about I think about the early '90s with Drew Bledsoe, a quarterback at Washington State, Steve Edmond, defensive tackle for Washington. It just so many good memories in the early '90s. It's been down because of Washington State, but now Mike Leach got Washington State coming up. Washington's a top tier team, playoff team last year.
I think they're overrated though, but that's another debate for another video.
Yeah, overrated video. Can't wait for that one.
I'm sure you'll have Notre Dame on there, but
Yep.
uh, yeah, that's a good rivalry as well. That's another one I like watching. My number two, I think you had it too low. I think it was your number five, Army Navy. Just the whole optics of it. And I understand it's not top programs. You know, I get that. I understand that Navy went on a long run there. Army has barely been winning, but they did win last year. They have been a little bit on the rise, and I think Navy's a little down from what they've been the past couple of years. So I think things are starting to even out a little bit, hopefully anyway, because I like when you have the rivalries that are closer, obviously, and you have both teams winning. But I just love the whole atmosphere about that game. And if there is one game I want to attend outside of the state of Louisiana, that's it. That's it. That's one game I want to travel to: Army versus Navy. So that's
I
my
say
number
put it
two.
on a. I say put it on a military base and have that game. If you're going to have a neutral site, put it on a military base. Give it to the soldiers. Travel it abroad.
You want to have it on an aircraft carrier?
Oh no, we got to have that's Navy and Air Force for that game.
You don't want to have guys falling overboard, getting popped off the aircraft carrier.
That'll be Navy. That'll be Navy Air Force. They can do the sea rescues from that one.
Right. Yeah, those will be. That's the losers bracket from Notre Dame, by the way. Those teams right there.
Oh Lord.
But all right, let's hear a drum roll. Who's your number one? What's your number one? And this is all subjective. You know, this isn't what we think is traditionally the best rivalries. This isn't what we think is historically the best rivalries. This is subjective. These are rivalries we personally like, personally want to attend, yada, yada, yada. What's your number one?
My number one, I had a chance to go to two of them, and I chickened out to go both times. It's the Iron Bowl at Auburn, Alabama, because I would be wearing my LSU colors, and I probably would not come out alive. And I'll probably say some four little words to both the Alabama fans and Auburn fans. But we'll keep. I said, yeah, let's stay home. But no,
You
when you say the rivalry, I'm guessing number one for you is going to be Ohio State, Michigan. This is the number one rivalry. Michigan and Ohio State. The problem with Michigan and Ohio State is it has these trends where in the 90s, Ohio State couldn't beat Michigan. And in the 2000s, Michigan couldn't beat Ohio State. And there's no middle ground or somebody win. When rivalries happen, you got to have that one team to beat the other teams at some point in the middle of a long run to keep it interesting. That's Auburn, Alabama. Plus, we have they kill trees. This rivalry, the other team kill trees. They, I mean, death threats. They defecated on statues on Alabama. It. They kill trees. This is a rivalry. It's not in Ohio or Michigan. It's in football country in the Southeast. It's the normally two teams that's going to compete. Winner of this game half the time is going for the SEC championship. This is the number one rivalry.
You make a good
argument. Trees have died.
You make a good argument there.
And I'll say this. I know Michigan fans married. I know a couple Michigan fans who married Ohio State fans. I have rarely ever met an Alabama fan marrying an Auburn fan.
Yeah. I can make a joke about the state of Alabama right now, but I'll refrain from it. But you make a good argument.
Don't get me wrong. If I ever become president of the United States, I am dropping an atom bomb on the state of Alabama and just wiping it out clean.
But hey, if there are any subscribers from Alabama, I didn't say it. EJ said it.
Go Tigers.
Send all hate mail his way. But you make a good case. You make a good argument there, and the storied rival, Bo Jackson jumping over the top, and just a lot of great games with this rivalry, and like you said, it's been back and forth. But to me, I'll just give you my number one. It's Ohio State, Michigan. What you see on the screen right there, Big Ten. I understand the SEC is where it's at now, but historically, as far as power conferences in the past, Big Ten was very strong. I know they're down. Ohio State didn't look all that great against Indiana tonight, but I think they'll get it together. No. And
they got watch
Big Ten,
Oklahoma next week.
Speaking of going away from tradition, Big Ten is really going away from its tradition. I know I'm close friends with an Ohio State fan, and he hates the track that Ohio State has taken with the spread offense and Urban Meyer. He hates it because he is your prototypical Big Ten fan. He grew up powerhouse or power eye, smash mouth football, Big Ten. And that's what he loves. And when you see Indiana running the spread and throwing the ball and running hurry up offense, and Ohio State, and they're going up and down the field, it just doesn't strike you as Big Ten football. So they've gotten a lot away from tradition recently in Big Ten football. But to me, Ohio State, Michigan will never lose that luster. It will never lose that shine of what it's been. And I think it's going to be some more back and forth now, since you got Urban Meyer versus Jim Harbaugh. I think you're going to have that tit for tat, Ohio State one year, Michigan the next year, back and forth now. And I think it's going to get ugly as well, since both teams are now competing for the playoffs every year.
No, yeah, both teams. Wait a minute. Michigan's going to be competing for the playoffs every year?
Last year, they were competing for the playoffs.
Not at the last week they weren't.
Well, if they would have won that game against Ohio State, you never know where they would have been. But
the head coach is Harbaugh, right?
Right.
Go check his track. I need you for another show. Check his track record, please. He will never compete for a national championship.
You're wrong. You're wrong on that. And that's another debate for another video, because you're dead wrong on that. Harbaugh is going to get them turned around, and they will be competing for those top 4 spots. I think pretty much every year from here
They're
on
gonna
out.
lose, they're gonna lose to Ohio State every year, so it don't matter.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about Indiana. Looked pretty good against them tonight for 3 quarters. So you never know. And Michigan's a different team. Indiana kind of, not to get off topic too much, but Indiana kind of exploited. If Ohio State is down at a certain spot on their team, it's in the
Corners.
secondary. And yeah, Indiana has big receivers and very good athletic receivers, and they kind of exploited that tonight. I don't know if Michigan has that and what Indiana has, but they're good though. Michigan's good.
Oh, if
Michigan's good.
uh,
Michigan's legit top 15 team.
oh
Now, whether
God,
they can climb in
no.
that top 4, they're legit top 15.
Yeah, because they do. You know what, they do play in the Big Ten, so I can see it.
But anyway, Michigan, Ohio State, that's the top rivalry, and I don't think that's. I don't know if you can really debate that too much. I mean, it's subjective for me, but I think it's the best rivalry in college football. Period. Alabama and Auburn is close.
They
But I think
kill
this is the
trees, god damn it. They kill trees. And another thing
All
too.
right.
And another thing too, if you want to talk about the two, you can talk right now about the 2 greatest coaches in college football history. They both coached in the Alabama Auburn rivalry. Just saying.
Bear Bryant, Nick Saban.
Yep.
They both coached for the same team. So
Yeah, but they were in that rivalry.
yeah, you're right. Well,
And
Ohio State, Michigan's got some good ones too.
Yeah. They are. But I do. If we are talking about rivalry,
you tried on that one.
I'm trying not to. I'm really holding back my tongue. It's so hard. But we talk about the top 5 rivalries. I do have 3 rivalries that I wish they did bring back though.
Go ahead.
These, okay, the first one is Texas A&M.
Right. Nebraska, Oklahoma's got to be on this list.
No, that would never happen because Big 10, Big 12.
No, I know it would never happen, but I want it brought back because that brings back good childhood memories to Thanksgiving weekend too.
But the second one, my second one is West Virginia.
Yeah, go ahead.
The second one's West Virginia, Pittsburgh.
Okay.
The backyard brawl. I just like to see an upset and people start burning couches up and down Morgantown. Always happens in this game.
They do burn couches.
I just want to say, I think people died in this rivalry. I don't know. If you burn a couch, you probably could burn a body. Just saying.
And what's your third?
My third one, and you're probably going to laugh, but it's actually one I would love to go see again, is the border war, Kansas, Missouri.
Oh, God.
They always competed. Kansas always stepped up and competed with Missouri. I went to one of them, loved it. Great atmosphere. They moved it in 2008 or 9 to Arrowhead, which I hated. I'd rather have it in Lawrence and in Columbia. But
yeah, Arrowhead doesn't make sense for that game. It doesn't.
Well, you got Arrowhead's in Kansas City. You step over the border, and then you're in Kansas.
I understand that, but
and Arrowhead is the very. I'm sorry.
I know Arrowhead is like a college football atmosphere, but I've never liked college games in pro stadiums. Like it's not my thing.
I don't know how you've been a Tulane fan for so long.
Exactly. That's why I'm so miserable all the time. But I'll tell you one I want brought back. Notre Dame, Michigan. And I understand it's Notre Dame's fault. I get it. I completely get it. But that's one they got to bring back. It's got to happen.
I have a discussion about that in a whole different podcast.
And we'll get to that one too. But any final thoughts on this, on my list, on your list? I think they're both solid lists. I like your list because it's some games that are. I think it's a creative list. Is games that can fly under the radar, and they're just good games altogether. And it's not necessarily about how great the teams are or if they have big implications on the game. To me, it's about the atmosphere, what it means to those certain teams. Um, but I like my list better. Obviously, I think I have a better list.
Sure, you. I'm actually shocked on your list. There's no Notre Dame.
Well, the only real rivalry I liked for Notre Dame, well, they got Notre Dame versus USC, but I think pretty much the reason I left that off the list is because that one's about to get pretty damn one-sided. I mean, USC is just going to be kicking the crap out of Notre Dame, and I think Brian Kelly has to go. I mean, once again, that's another thing for another podcast. But other than that, the only real rivalry I thought was worth it for Notre Dame was Notre Dame versus Michigan, and that one's gone. So between that being gone and Notre Dame versus USC, a rivalry that I'm not a fan of right now because I think USC is going to kick the crap out of us. I have really nothing to talk about in this podcast, Notre Dame wise.
I do have a Notre Dame rivalry I like to see to play every year.
What's that?
The Catholics versus the convicts.
Notre Dame, Miami.
Of course.
Yeah, but
And
that's
they're
not
both
what
down.
it used to be.
But they're both down. They're both down.
They're both down.
And
Miami's been down for a while, and Miami's not Miami anymore. You know, Miami of the '80s and '90s was like, whoa, Miami.
Yeah,
You know, now it's just like Miami.
But it's also it kind of changed turns too. Notre Dame got more of the convict problem now, and Miami got a
Oh yeah, yeah, but that was always
good boy image.
overblown. Notre Dame was never perfect, squeaky clean like they made it out to be, and I don't know. Miami played that way, but look, Miami's not Miami anymore, and it's not just about the talent level and about winning and losing. It's about
Orange Bowl.
there was a certain aura. Yeah, but there was a certain aura that Miami had that it doesn't have anymore. You know what I mean? Like that helmet, that U on the helmet, it doesn't. Those colors, it just doesn't. It's not what it used to be. They don't wear it right anymore. You know what I mean? Like coming off the plane wearing camouflage. That's what I miss.
God. So horrible. That was the worst. I think that's a podcast right there. University of Miami. That's a whole show in itself.
Yeah. But anyway, we're going to wrap this thing up. Good job tonight, EJ. And we'll be back soon, either tomorrow night or early next week, for some more discussions on college football and the world of football. So hit us up. Let us know who won this. And, of course, it's going to be me. But let us know whose list you liked better. I'm out. Say you're out, EJ. Say peace.
I'm out of here.
Peace.